Welcome to New at NAMT, the next wave of musical theater writers, a series dedicated to spotlighting the emergent voices in musical theater. Every interview provides a unique glimpse into the creative minds behind the next big musicals. So whether you're a producer, theater lover, or even simply curious about the future of musical theater, New at NAMT offers a front row seat to a new generation of writers. Today, on New at NAMT, we'll be talking with the winners of the Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge for high school students alongside their program mentors. Presented by the National Endowment for the Arts, NEA, in partnership with the National Alliance for Musical Theater, NAMT, in collaboration with Concord Theatricals, Disney Theatrical Productions, the NMPA S.O.N.G.S Foundation, the Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge is a unique educational and professional development opportunity for high school students to write and showcase a song that could be in a musical. This past year, 7 winning songs by 8 student songwriters were selected to win the Songwriting Challenge. Those winning student songwriters traveled from all across the country to New York City in June 2024 for Winners Weekend, where their songs were fully orchestrated and performed live in a concert by Broadway performers. You can still watch the concert at home by heading over to the namt.org/challenge and see the first ever performance of these songs for yourself. Over the next little bit, we'll talk with the winners about their songs and the full Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge experience. It's time to lower the lights, raise the curtain, and LX1, go on New at NAMT. I am your host, Jean-Paul Yovanoff from Musical Theater Radio, and joining me each week is a rotating cast of Songwriting Challenge program mentors as our co-host. Before we get to today's interview, let's welcome this week's co-host, Anessa. Anessa, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank
Oh,
you
I'm
for
doing
having
great.
me.
Nope. I'm glad. So, before we get to talking to our guests, tell us a little bit about yourself, your relationship with NAMT and your involvement in the Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge.
I am a music director, conductor, pianist, orchestrator, arranger, and composer working in musical theater in New York. I'm currently the associate music director and associate conductor of cabaret on Broadway. And I came to NAMT years ago, music directing for their festival. I music directed a piece called Interstate by Kit Yan and Melissa Lee, and just fell in love with what NAMT does. I think it's so important that we are cultivating new work, and NAMT is so dedicated to that cause. So since my introduction, I've worked on a couple other pieces. This past year, I did Medusa as part of the festival. And this past summer, I had the pleasure of music directing the Songwriting Challenge Winners Weekend concert. And that was just such a blast. So I love NAMT. I try to say yes when they come to me and ask me to do something, if I can fit it in my schedule. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now that we know who our co-host is, let's get to the interview. Today, we are thrilled to be speaking with Gwen Doerfler, one of this year's Songwriting Challenge winners. Her song, The Cost, takes us on an emotional journey to 1970s Nashville, where dreams and doubts collide. Gwen, welcome to New at NAMT.
Excited to chat with you guys today about all things songwriting challenge and NAMT.
Awesome. Now, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the listeners and tell us a little bit more about your winning song, The Cost.
Yeah, my name is Gwendellyn Doerfler. I go by she, her pronouns, and I go to DeWitt High School. I'm a senior there right now. I'm calling from DeWitt, Michigan today. The Cost is about a girl moving to Nashville in the 1970s to become a country songwriter, despite never having written a country song before. In the song, this girl wonders if her choice is the right one and explores the real reasons why she.
Yeah, so I actually had the privilege of orchestrating the cost. And I remember when I first listened to the song, it just resonated in so many ways. I think back to the days when I was a young songwriter trying to find my way. Um, and it just had so many calls to the Nashville sound that orchestrating it was fun to just find colors, but use the entire foundation that you provided. So I'm curious what your process was writing the song.
Yeah, the cost started out as a school project that I did at the end of last year. I was writing it as most of my friends who were seniors were going off to college. And as I was writing the song, I just needed a reminder of why I keep writing and why I can never stop writing. It started off very much just about myself to just kind of like reflect back um, how I saw myself at the time. But it really fast just evolved into an encouraging letter to everybody who has a dream that's not quite stereotypical to chase.
What was it like to collaborate with professional mentors like Anessa and Zaniba now? What were the most impactful takeaways from your time with them?
Yeah, being in New York and being on these calls with NMT, the thing that struck me the most was how open everybody was. Everybody was so encouraging about this process. And musical theater and the music industry in general can be a very cutthroat place. So I was very surprised at how excited everybody was for me and with me. And the most important thing that I took away from this whole experience was really just the process. Um, you work on a song for so long, especially when you know that you have a really good idea. And I feel like sometimes you can be so narrow in your thinking about how it can be executed. So to watch what Anessa did with the song and all the different layers and the momentum, like it was really, really interesting to explore that process of having other people look at what I've written, and to just make it even better.
Gwen, I would love to talk about Winter's Weekend. Could you share a standout memory from Winter's Weekend? Maybe something unexpected or a moment where it all felt real? How did it feel to be immersed in the musical theater world of New York City?
Well, the first thing about Winter's Weekend was it was absolutely incredible. Every single moment, I felt so cheesy with the biggest smile on my face, and it was the best. Um, but the standout moment that I kind of felt that it was real is the day that we got to the hotel. Um, all of the winners were in the group chat. We were all texting each other about how excited we were and where we were on at the journey. And a couple of people were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm already at the hotel. Let's meet in the lobby." And so I went downstairs and I got to meet Lucy Gray. She was the first one there. And she and I talked for like 10, 20 minutes just about how excited we were. And like little by little, people were arriving and we just sat in the lobby of the hotel for like probably in 2 hours, just all of us talking to each other and asking what we were doing, what we were working on. Um, yeah, the thing that really stuck out about Winter's Weekend was how together and excited everybody was for each other, and it was just so supportive. But that was really the moment that it became real, was meeting everybody, getting to be around so many others.
Yeah, I remember just watching all of you interact and how cool it was, just how tight you all seemed to be within like days of meeting each other. It was so cool to see. Um, your song "The Cost" was performed by Desi Oakley. Can you describe what it was like hearing her sing your song for the first time with the band and what emotions or thoughts you had in that moment?
I knew going into Winter's Weekend that the studio day was going to be my favorite day. I had looked at the itinerary and I was super, super excited. But the studio day was the thing that I just kept coming back to. And I told myself that I was going to be super professional and I was going to be good to work with and I was going to be like very attentive to the process and all of these things. And then I got to see Desi Oakley right before everything started, and she ran up to me and she hugged me and she was so excited about my song and talking to me about it and was like asking what my plans are and how I came up with it. And Desi Oakley, I cannot say this enough, is the most amazing person I've ever met. Um, I just felt so welcomed by her. and all of my sense of being professional went out the window. Um, I I was looking at the setup and I was looking at where the band was, and I decided that I wanted to sit right in the middle instead of off to the side because I wanted to hear the song from all sides. So, in all the pictures from the weekend, I'm sitting on the floor right in front of the band, and I sobbed every single time that they sing the song. Um, I was gushing to everyone that I saw that was a part of the band or that had a part in orchestrating it. It was absolutely incredible. Yeah, I I can't think of any other way to describe it other than that I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be in that moment. And I just had such a heart full of love and anticipation. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
From your experience in the songwriting challenge, what's the one piece of advice you'd pass on to other young songwriters dreaming of this opportunity?
Write the terrible songs. Um, you're going to have one amazing idea out of 1,000 bad ones. And the only way to find the good one is to write all of the terrible ones. And in writing the terrible ones, you notice what you do and you don't like about yourself when you're writing. You notice what tendencies you have and what you like more and what you don't like more. And once you get to the point where you recognize that, um, invite others to give you that feedback. Um, that was the biggest thing that I really took away from the songwriting challenge was that getting other people's perspectives makes you so much better and makes the experience so much richer. It's so much more satisfying. And don't be afraid to like things. I think too often people are trying to be cool and professional, as I was trying to be, and really just being the person to show your love and appreciation builds the bond that you need to make it in this kind of industry. And yeah, that's what I would pass along to people who are dreaming of this opportunity to be yourself and write all the terrible songs that you
Gwen, thank you so much for sharing your journey and giving us a glimpse into the heart behind the cost. It was great meeting you today.
can. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I also want to give a big thank you to the National Endowment for the Arts, Concord Theatricals, Disney Theatrical Productions, the NMPA S.O.N.G.S Foundation for all of their support in making this program possible.
Of course, I also want to thank this week's incredible co-host, Anessa, for joining us today and tell us, what have you got coming up? What's next for you?
Well, I am fortunate to be on a show that has been running and hopefully will keep running. So I'm going to stick with cabaret, but um, I have been writing a show based on my life called A First Glimpse of Light, and I have some really fun developmental opportunities coming up in the next year to really hopefully bring that piece to life and take the next steps in that journey.
Very nice. Now, Gwen, before we let you go, you've accomplished so much. Your band, the choir, performing in musicals, songwriting. Tell us what's next for you.
I recently got accepted into my top school choice in Nashville. So hopefully I'll be able to semi live out the cost in that way. Um, but yeah, I intend to be a songwriter for my entire life and to be an artist as long as they'll let me. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited to see what their future is gonna hold.
That's fantastic. Congratulations once again for all you've done. And I look forward to seeing where you go in the future and what you write. So that's all for today's interview, but we will be back with another fantastic winner and co-host next week. Once again, I am your host, Jean-Paul Yovanoff, and on behalf of NAMT and MTR, thank you for joining us today, and we will see you in the theater.